After saving a Navy SEAL with 40 bullet wounds, this nurse's life-changing secret was revealed. Emma's heart raced as the doors swung open. Chaos spilled into the emergency room like a waterfall. Gurneys wheeled in, frantic voices clashed, and the scent of antiseptic hung thick in the air. But the moment she laid eyes on Jake, the Navy SEAL, her world narrowed. His body was a tapestry of agony, 35 bullet wounds marking his skin, a testament to a life lived on the edge. This was her moment, as raw and urgent as it got. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, trying to believe it herself. She rushed into action, fingers flying through procedures, adrenaline singing in her veins. With every stitch and bandage, she poured her heart into saving him, as if with each heartbeat of the warrior before her, she could redeem the sacrifices she'd made as a single mother, the dreams lost in the bustle of hospital life. Yet, fear gnawed at her, a fear that she wasn't enough for him or for her own son, Alex. Beneath the bright lights and sterile walls, thoughts of Alex tore at her like jagged glass. Her job consumed her, leaving their relationship on the verge of collapse. Each late night and missed dinner whispered of abandonment into Alex's teenage heart, sowing seeds of resentment. "Why do you care more about your job?" he had shouted the other night, the pain in his voice cutting through her like a knife. "You never have time for me." Emma fought to explain, but the words felt hollow under the weight of his hurt. As Jake fought for his life, Emma found herself drawn to his spirit. He spoke, often delirious, but occasionally vivid in the moments between the madness. "Some wounds don't show, you know," he murmured at one point, catching her gaze with a fierce intensity. "It's not just the physical. It's deep. The battle doesn't stop when you come home." His words echoed in Emma's mind. Her own battles loomed large, buried under endless night shifts and urgent calls. For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps it wasn't too late for her. Maybe she could reclaim her passion for music, an opportunity to heal not just others, but herself and her son too. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into a blur, but Jake's resilience lit a fire in her. As his condition improved, she found herself humming during breaks, the music tugging at her soul like a long-lost friend. He noticed, encouraging her with every recovering breath. Each note felt like an offering to the universe. Could it mend her ties with Alex too? But just as she embraced this second chance, Alex discovered a secret from Emma's past, a shadow that flickered in the light of their growing reconnect. "You did what?" he exclaimed, disbelief lacing his tone. The trust they were rebuilding threatened to shatter in an instant. In that hospital hallway, the weight of fear settled in her chest. Could she bridge the gap between saving a life and saving her family? With questions swirling in the air and hope flickering weakly, Emma faced a choice that promised to redefine heroism. Could she find the balance, or would this moment drive them further apart? The tension hung thick in the air, like smoke from a forgotten fire. Emma felt her heart drop as Alex's eyes widened with disbelief. That look on his face, a mix of anger and confusion, was more painful than anything she had encountered in the emergency room. "What did you think I was going to say?" Emma's voice wavered, barely able to form words. She had hoped for understanding, for compassion, but that moment was slipping away. The laughter and music, which had begun to stir hope within her, faded into a distant echo. "Mom, you're not supposed to hide things from me. Do you even realize how that feels?" Alex's voice cracked, the hurt bubbling up into anger. It was a reminder of just how deep the crack between them had grown. "I was trying to protect you," Emma said, pinching her eyes closed for a moment, gathering her thoughts like scattered papers. "That part of my life I thought it'd be better left in the past. I never meant to lie to you." But as she looked at Alex, she realized her words were flimsy, they didn't carry the weight of her mother's love. I thought we were starting to understand each other again by keeping secrets. He interrupted, arms crossed tightly over his chest. How am I supposed to trust you? A sigh slipped from her lips. The world seemed to shrink, the hospital walls pressing in around her. Meanwhile, the buzz of phones and hurried footsteps of nurses echoed in the background, a cruel reminder of the urgency of life outside their confrontation. As Emma turned, her mind was a whirlwind. Thoughts darted everywhere: Jake's battle, her music, and now, her son's pain. She'd fallen into the trap of believing that managing others' crises could somehow fix her own home. It was becoming clearer that each decision she made regarding work, each choice that consumed her mind, had severed a vital connection with Alex. Suddenly, Jake's voice intruded on her thoughts. Emma. His raspy call broke through the tension like a lifeline. He needed her, and against all odds, he was recovering, fighting through pain and uncertainty. I have to go, she whispered to Alex, desperation tinging her voice. I can't leave him. I'm so sorry. Emma rushed down the corridor, her heart a confusing mix of duty and concern, leaving her son behind in turmoil. As she entered Jake's room, she was greeted with the sight of him propped up slightly, a finger tracing the edge of his bandage. He looked up, those intense blue eyes locking onto hers. How's my favorite nurse? He asked with a faint smile, but Emma didn't return his smile. Her mind was still tangled with her conversation with Alex. She felt culpable, like a soldier who had let her own troops down. I messed up, Jake, she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. I'm losing my son because of my choices. He beckoned her closer, and in that moment, something shifted. You can't fight all your battles alone, he murmured, those deep words resonating with the ache in her. Sometimes, being strong means you also have to be vulnerable. Let him see you, the real you. His words stirred something within her, a flicker of clarity amid the storm. Could it be that sharing her truth would help mend the rift with Alex? The thought both terrified and exhilarated her. Maybe open honesty was the way forward, not just for her son, but for herself, another chance to heal. But as she grappled with this new idea, a nurse burst through the door, urgency written across her face. Emma, we need you in trauma. There's been another situation: 2 survivors from the conflict zone. They're in critical condition. The world narrowed again, a reminder that while her personal battles raged on, others faced greater crises. I'll be right there, Emma replied, a determination filling her. As she turned back to Jake, she glanced over her shoulder and whispered, I'll figure this out. I promise. With renewed purpose, she dashed out, ready to confront yet another life-and-death situation. But a part of her knew that she also had to face her own truths when the time was right. Would she summon the courage to be vulnerable, to share her secrets? With Alex, the question nagged at her as she navigated the chaos of the emergency room, the sound of sirens and voices fading into a blur. Emma could only wonder what revelations awaited her if she chose to return home to her son, and whether this time, her truth would bridge the gap between mother and child. Would she find the strength to redefine what it meant to be a hero in her own family? The emergency room buzzed with frenetic energy, machines beeped like racing hearts, and Emma felt the rush of adrenaline flooding through her veins. This was her world, where urgency was a constant and every second mattered. As she made her way into the trauma bay, she mentally prepared herself for what lay ahead. 2 young men, barely out of their teens, lay on the stretchers, their bodies riddled with wounds, an unthinkable testament to the chaos they had escaped. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she noted the severity of their injuries. The sight of their blood-soaked clothes sent her into high alert. Get me a saline solution and prepare the ore. She shouted, her voice rising over the chaos. The staff moved like a well-practiced team, gathering supplies and relaying information rapidly. Emma's training kicked in, and every instinct told her to focus on the task ahead, but her mind kept drifting back to Alex. Was he okay? Did he understand her? Each heartbeat felt like a reminder of the furious conversation that had transpired only moments before. She shoved the thoughts aside, willing herself to focus. The boys needed her now more than ever. As she worked on the first patient, applying pressure to a severe abdominal wound, her hands shook slightly, a mixture of fear and the weight of responsibility. "Stay with me, buddy," she murmured, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "You're a fighter. You've made it this far." He was pale, hollowed, yet there was a flicker of defiance in his eyes. It ignited something inside Emma. Hours passed in a blur. The world around her spun in a cacophony of calls and commands. She whispered encouraging words, guided by an inner mantra to keep pushing, keep fighting. The immediate crisis began to fade as the surgeon stabilized the boys. Relief washed over her like sunlight breaking through clouds. Yet, in the back of her mind, the worry for Alex simmered. Finally, a few hours later, the OR doors swung open, and Emma stepped outside, physically and emotionally drained. She leaned against the wall, blinking back weariness. In that moment, her phone buzzed, jarring her from the haze. A message lit up the screen, and her heart sank as she saw Alex's name. "Mom, we need to talk. Please come home." The simple text felt like a punch to the gut. Each word echoed Alex's hurt, his anger. She leaned her head against the cool concrete, taking a deep breath. This was her moment to prioritize not just her patients, but her family, too. Emma's heart raced with the urgency of what lay ahead. With each step toward her car, she felt the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. Vulnerability was not her strong suit. For years, she had built walls to protect herself, but now, she realized those same walls were the very things damaging her relationship with Alex. It would take strength to break down those barriers, to lay her heart bare. She imagined the conversation, the depth of honesty she would need to muster. It was terrifying, but the thought of losing Alex was scarier still. As she sat in her car, the engine humming to life, Emma found herself staring into the rearview mirror, catching a fleeting glimpse of the woman she had become, a protector, a caregiver, yet also a little lost. "Okay, Emma," she whispered to herself. "Time to be brave. For both of us." Drawing in one final breath, she pulled out of the hospital parking lot, determination etching a fierce resolve across her face. Would she truly be able to share her story with her son? In that fleeting moment, the weight of the question hung in the air like a fragile thread, binding mystery to hope. As she drove home, the uncertainty mingled with a flicker of excitement, the promise of transformation waiting at her doorstep. Would this pivotal moment become the turning point in their relationship? Emma parked in the driveway, her heart racing as she glanced at the house. It felt strangely foreign, like an old jacket that didn't quite fit anymore. The porch light flickered against the evening sky, casting shadows that danced with her uncertainty. She felt the weight of the conversation looming before her. Opening the door, a familiar scent of lavender and freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, instantly tightening her chest. Had she failed to notice the warmth of home while burying herself in her work? The thought nagged at her as she stepped inside, her footsteps echoing softly against the wooden floors. "Alex?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. "Living room." His response was curt, laced with the tension that had hung heavily between them, like a dark cloud threatening to burst. Emma took a moment, gathering her thoughts, steadying her breath. She walked to the living room, where Alex sat on the couch, arms crossed tightly over his chest. His face was a storm of emotions: hurt, anger, disappointment. It stung to see her own reflection in his eyes. "Mom," he started, his voice cracking just slightly. "You never have time for me anymore. I can't even remember the last time we did something together." The accusation pierced her heart, a truth she couldn't deny. "I know, Alex. I've been so focused on my job, on saving others." Her words faltered, realizing that an excuse only veiled the deeper issues. "You can't keep pretending everything's okay," he snapped, his youthful face twisting in frustration. "What about us? What about our family?" His words hit like a freight train, and in that moment, she felt raw and exposed. "You're right," she admitted, her voice trembling. I haven't been there for you. I'm sorry. I've let my work consume me. Alex's expression softened for a fleeting moment, but the hurt remained. You always put other people first, but what if I needed you, too? I'm not just your son when it's convenient for you. Tears prickled at Emma's eyes, a deep ache building within. I never wanted you to feel that way. I thought I was doing the right thing by working hard. Her voice faded. Do you even hear yourself? He pressed, frustration clearly intertwining with some underlying fear. You're not a superhero. You don't have to save the whole world alone. You're just. Mom. That's enough. A lump formed in her throat, a clash of emotions roiling within. But what if I'm not enough? What if I fail? The admission felt like pulling apart the seams of her carefully crafted facade. Failing is okay, Alex said, a hint of empathy breaking through. But you can't keep running away from what matters most. Sometimes, it's more about being there than doing. His words wrapped around her, bringing clarity she hadn't expected. I'm here now, she said, voice steadying as she leaned forward. I want to change that. I want to be present for you. But it's hard for me to admit I want to talk about everything, Alex. About your feelings, my feelings. About all of it. For a moment, silence settled, stretching out like a taut string between them. The air crackled with unspoken emotions, both hopeful and terrifying. Suddenly, Alex's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. He frowned as he glanced at it. Mom, I need to take this. Emma nodded, a rush of urgency pushing back in as she realized the conversation was far from over. The journey to repair their bond had just begun, and she concluded that maybe true bravery wasn't just about facing the chaos at work, but the vulnerability waiting at home, too. What if right now is just the beginning? She thought as she watched him walk away. Could they really turn this around? The moment hung heavily in the air, leaving Emma wondering if she'd find the courage to fully open her heart or if the walls she'd built were still too high to scale. Emma exhaled, the sound mingling with the ticking of the clock on the wall, each tick amplifying the silence now filling the room. She felt suspended in time, trapped in a space that had once been filled with laughter and warmth but now felt cold and distant. The quiet stretched on as she sank into the armchair, its fabric worn yet familiar. She closed her eyes, letting memories pour over her like a wave, weekends at the park, movie nights with popcorn flying everywhere, Alex's little boy voice asking questions about the universe. But those simpler days had slipped away, one work deadline at a time. She heard Alex's voice muffled by the phone. It was sharp, urgent, tones rising and falling like a tide. That familiar pang of longing struck her. The sharp contrast between the ease of his laughter then and the discomfort hanging in the air now tugged at her heart. After a few moments, the front door creaked open. Alex re-entered the living room, his demeanor visibly lighter, the tension in his shoulders eased. He met her gaze with a hint of uncertainty, as if the conversation had not entirely left them. Sorry about that. Just a group message, he began. Emma ventured forward, the words rushing out before doubt could shackle them. Can we continue talking? I really want to know how you're feeling, what has been bothering you the most. He hesitated, a shadow flickering across his face. I don't know if there's much point. You've been so busy with your job, Mom. It's hard to share when you're always elsewhere. It felt like a punch. You're right again. It's not about me just saying I'm sorry. I need to show you. I need to prove that I care. What do you need? He wrinkled his forehead, pondering for a moment. I guess I miss you, just being here. You know. Like really here. Even if it's just watching TV together. I just want to know you're not too far away. Emma's heart twisted with remnants of guilt and sorrow, yet a flicker of hope ignited. We can start there. How about we schedule a night every week, just you and me? No distractions, just us. Alex gave her a searching look, weighing her words. What if you put that work aside? Like, no emails, no calls. She nodded, feeling the resolve wash over her. Okay. I will. I'll find a way. I don't want you to feel like I'm not here for you, Alex. You're my priority. A small smile broke through his guarded expression. Deal. Just promise me you'll stick to it. I promise. The oath felt like a warm blanket she could wrap around them both. They spent the next few minutes brainstorming ideas for their first bonding night. The atmosphere shifted, the weight of conflict lightened into easy laughter as Alex suggested a movie marathon of all the worst superhero flicks. They traded quips and suggestions until Emma could see a glimmer of connection re-emerging, something that felt like home, but deep inside, Emma knew this was just the beginning. The lingering question nagged at her, could she truly balance saving the world and being the mother Alex needed? As their laughter rang out in the room, she caught a glimpse of hope. Yet, doubts loomed on the horizon, waiting to test their fragile resolve. Just then, Emma's phone buzzed on the table, a stark reminder of the world outside. She glanced at the screen, a message flashing from the hospital, critical situation requiring immediate attention. Her heart raced, torn between duty and family. The path to healing felt steeper than before. How would Alex react this time? Mom. Alex's voice broke her reverie, and she looked up, feeling trapped in a crossroads. Would she choose to run back into the chaos of her work or remain steadfast at home, where the true battles lay? Emma's heart thudded in her chest as she stared at her phone, the bright screen almost mocking her in its urgency. She could feel the tension creeping back, slithering around the good feelings that had just been blooming between her and Alex. Mom. Alex repeated, concern shadowing his eyes. You okay? She could hear the unspoken question in his voice. Was her work more important than him? Could she really walk away from what had just begun to mend? Emma swallowed the lump in her throat, desperate to find the right words. The hospital was calling her back to a world that felt familiar yet distant, a world that had consumed so much of her time and emotion. She started, but the weight of what the message meant choked her. There's an emergency at the hospital. A Navy SEAL. He was shot. It's bad, Alex. The breath left Alex's lungs as if he'd been punched. Right now. I need to go. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting away. And you said we'd have time together, just us. I know. She lifted her hands, imploring him to understand. But this is different. This is someone in real danger. I have to help. The silence between them grew thick again. Each second felt like an eternity as she tried to gauge his reaction. Would he resent her for choosing work? Would he see her as the mother who always put duty first? Is it always going to be like this? Alex asked, a crack in his voice. Will I always come second? No. That's not what I want, Emma replied, her voice rising in desperation. I want to be there for you, I do. But sometimes, I have to step into the chaos to help others. Please understand. He looked at her, frustration flickering across his face. But Mom, you say you want to make time for us, and then it's like I never mattered. The words stabbed at Emma. They were a mirror reflecting all her fears right back at her. She knelt down to his eye level, her palms resting on his knees. You mean everything to me, Alex. You are my priority when I'm here. I promise I'm going to fix this. Our weekly nights. They're still happening. Alex nodded slowly, but doubt still lingered, like a storm cloud threatening to douse their fragile connection. You really mean that? I promise I'll make it work, she vowed with all her heart. Reluctantly, he hugged her tightly, and Emma could feel his muscles relax just a fraction. But as she held him close, every pulse of her heart whispered of the mission awaiting her, a life hanging in the balance. They eventually pulled apart, the unbroken bond between them starting to feel a little stronger. Emma touched his cheek gently, a flicker of relief washing over her. I'll be back as soon as I can, okay? I'll text you updates. Okay, Alex replied, though his voice remained small. Just don't take too long. She gave him one last reassuring smile before grabbing her bag. As she walked toward the door, Emma felt a part of her heart tethered to her son, like a balloon ready to float away but held down by a strong hand. "Mom." Alex's voice called out behind her, making her stop. "Just be careful. I don't want to lose you too." "I'll come back," she called over her shoulder, but as she stepped out into the cool night air, the uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Would this be the moment everything changed for them? Could this be the test that would finally shatter the facade they built? Emma paused, looking back at the door framing Alex's worried face. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both worlds pressing down on her. What if she couldn't juggle it all? What if saving this life meant losing the one she loved most? With that thought lodged in her mind, she hurried to her car, no longer sure if she was running toward help or away from home. The night stretched out before her like an uncharted path, perilous and uncertain, echoing with questions yet to be answered. What if this moment would change everything? The drive to the hospital felt surreal, the city lights blurring into streaks of color as Emma navigated traffic. Every car that passed mirrored her restless thoughts, a cacophony of lives moving in different directions, unaware of the storm brewing inside her. The urgency consumed her, yet so did the pang of guilt that gnawed at her insides, threatening to unravel her resolve. As she entered the emergency room, the familiar sense of antiseptic and the sterile atmosphere washed over her like a tidal wave. It felt like home, and yet, it felt like an alien world. She spotted her colleagues rushing about, and the sheer energy pulsed through her, igniting her determination. She pushed through the double doors and headed straight for the chaos that had already begun. "Emma!" shouted Dr. Harris, his voice cutting through the noise. "We need you in Trauma 3. She sprinted to the room where an intense scene unfolded before her. The Navy SEAL lay on the stretcher, blood-soaked and unconscious, his wounds telling a story of bravery and pain. An 4-drip gushed life-saving fluids towards him as the code blue alarms echoed against the sterile walls. "What have we got?" Emma asked as she scrubbed in, adrenaline pumping through her veins. 40 bullet wounds, the trauma nurse replied, almost incredulously. "He's hanging by a thread. We need to work fast." As they moved into action, her mind was instantly filled with calculations, treatments, and life-saving measures. In a world filled with chaos, she felt the familiar sense of duty envelop her like a shield, propelling her forward. Every stitch she placed, every ounce of attention she gave, felt like a handshake to fate, an unspoken promise that life would be fought for here today. Just as she was about to intubate, a flurry of voices caught her attention. A tall man, wearing a military uniform and paint-smeared face, burst into the room. "What is going on?" "That's my brother. He's a SEAL. I need to know he's okay." Emma turned her attention to him, seeing not just desperation, but a lifetime of connections behind his eyes. "We're doing everything we can," she said, her voice steady. "Please step back. We need space." He didn't move. Instead, his gaze locked onto her, a silent plea that tugged at her heart. Memories of her own son swirled in her mind, mingling with the reality of this family's nightmare. "Your brother is a fighter," she added, reaching out momentarily to cover his hand with hers. "We'll give him every chance." The tension in the air thickened as they continued to work on the soldier. Time felt distorted, stretching and contracting in surreal waves, but eventually, they stabilized him. Emma wiped the sweat from her forehead, heart racing, relief trickling through her. "Status?" Dr. Harris asked, stepping back to assess the situation. "Stable, for now," she replied, breathless but proud. "We've got a long road ahead." A sob broke the silence, and Emma turned to see the brother, tears streaming silently down his face. It was a moment so raw that it made her heart clench painfully. He was losing his brother but anchored in hope, fighting disbelief. "I'm so sorry," she started, but words felt futile. "No," he interrupted, almost angrily. "You saved him. Please, don't apologize. You're the reason he's alive. The words hung between them, thick with something unnameable. As she stepped away to let the family in, Emma felt her phone buzz, the reminder of another life waiting for her, hovering on the edges of her mind. Alex. That single word echoed like a distant chime. Would the weight of this moment crush the fragile progress she'd made with her son? The thought spiraled as she faced the family, whose hope flickered like candlelight against the dark. Just then, as she stepped into the hallway, the emergency lights painted a stark shadow on the wall. She needed to reach out to Alex and mend what felt like a widening chasm. But would she be strong enough to hold on to both worlds? As she dialed his number, her heart raced with anxiety and anticipation. Would he pick up? The ringing ensued, each tone echoing. Her fear of losing one connection while trying to save another. Then it clicked. What would he say when he heard her voice? Would it heal or widen the fracture? The phone rang. Each tone felt like a countdown, a drumbeat echoing the intensity of the moment as Emma's heart pounded. She held her breath, straining to hear the sound of his voice. Would Alex understand what she was trying to bridge? Come on, Alex, pick up, she whispered, clenching her teeth. Suddenly, the call connected, and the tension swelled into the silence. Mom. His voice was muffled, hesitant, as if he had been roused from a deep sleep. Alex, it's me. I know it's late. It's the middle of the night, Mom. What is going on? The frustration was palpable over the line. It was a mirror reflecting the storm brewing in her heart. I'm at the hospital. There's been an emergency, she stammered, her words faltering as she tried to structure a bridge over the chasm. Wait, are you okay? His concern pierced through the bark of annoyance, and she could almost feel the distance shrinking. I'm fine. I'm working. But there is something I need to tell you. Her gaze shifted down the hallway, the frantic energy of the ER whirling around her. Can we talk? Mom, just tell me. You sounded really different on the way to the hospital. His voice cracked slightly. Emma felt a wave of emotion bubble deep within her. I saved a soldier. A Navy SEAL. He was hurt really badly. He took a breath on the other end, a long pause that felt too heavy, almost tangible. Why would you tell me that? What is happening? Is that why you're calling? Suddenly, the memories of the brother's desperate face surged back, the grief, the pride, the weight of love. Because, Alex, you need to know that, even in the darkest moments, there is hope. I want you to see that hope. He scoffed slightly. Right. Like you're ever around when I need you. You're always saving someone. What about me? The reality of his words struck her hard, like a punch to the gut. He was right. It felt like her whole life had turned into a series of emergencies, where she was the one giving care, while he was the one left alone, waiting in the shadows. I know I've been distant, sweetheart. I'm trying. I just trying what? He interrupted, his voice now bitter. To save everyone else but me. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, a lone tear trailing down her cheek. No, Alex. I'm trying to be a better mom. I want to be there for you too. I don't know how. You're just not here. Do you even realize how that feels? His frustration turned to vulnerability, layers peeling back. You're always saving people, Mom, what about us? His words echoed in her thoughts, heavy and haunting. How had she let it get this far? I'm here now, she whispered, forcing the words past the knot in her throat. Please let me in. I want to fix this. Fix what? He sounded so small, yet so big in her heart. Us, she replied softly. I want to make this right, Alex. No more emergencies between us. There was a silence that stretched almost painfully before he replied. I don't know if you can. Before Emma could respond, a commotion erupted at the far end of the hall. A new patient was being wheeled in, the overhead lights flashing frantically as alarms blared once again. She felt the emergency tugging her back into the chaos. "Alex, I gotta go. I promise I'll call you back, okay? We'll talk more." "Fine." The line disconnected, leaving a silence that screamed of unresolved pain. As she ran towards the chaos, her heart weighed heavily with unresolved feelings. She was torn between saving lives and saving her own. Would she manage to mend the rift before it was too late? The nurse threw open the doors to reveal a fresh crisis, blood everywhere, panic rising. Emma steadied herself. Life here was measured in seconds, and every heartbeat begged her to act. But deep inside, an unsettling thought remained: could saving someone else ever lead to saving herself? And what if she discovered that the biggest battle was still waiting for her at home? The chaos in the ER was overwhelming. Emma snapped into action, her training kicking in. The flashing lights overhead cast eerie shadows, illuminating the gripping reality around her. Nurses shouted instructions, doctors raced to triage, and every heartbeat felt like a clock ticking down to zero. As she moved quickly past cubicles, someone shouted her name. It was Dr. Thompson, her mentor. "Emma, we need you in trauma too." His tone was urgent but steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. She nodded, a wave of determination washing over her as she dashed to the designated room. Inside, the soldier lay on the table, pale and fragile against the stark whiteness of the sheets. The nurses were already working on him, applying pressure to open wounds and counting the bullets he had taken. His body swam in a mixture of injury and hope, a beacon of life fighting against time. "Start 4 fluids," Dr. Thompson commanded. "And someone get the blood ready, type O negative." Emma joined the fray. She moved with an urgency that felt both familiar and scary, her heart parallel to the soldier's struggle. Each task she performed was a piece of the puzzle that brought her back to a purpose. Still, as she looked into the soldier's eyes, she saw more than just a patient. She saw the faces of every person she had cared for, every moment she had missed with Alex. "Hey there," she whispered to the soldier, a small comfort in the whirlwind around them. "We're going to take care of you." She could see the flicker of response in his eyes, a battle fought beyond physical wounds. Minutes bled into what felt like hours, her entire focus driven by an unrelenting need to save him, but the nagging weight of her last conversation with Alex haunted her, a ghost lingering in her mind. "Mom, you're always saving someone else." His words slapped against her subconscious as she fought off the dizzying emotions. Each decision she made here was for a life in her hands. Yet, that same energy was absent at home. She was out here, saving lives, where life was raw and pulsating, while her own son waited in shadows littered with hurt and neglect. Just then, the soldier's condition shifted. His heart rate dropped suddenly, the monitor beeping wildly, warning of the danger. Emma jumped back into action. "Get the paddles ready," she yelled, adrenaline surging through her veins. But in the quiet corner of her mind, apprehension struck, a visceral reminder that Alex was just as fragile, just as vulnerable as this man before her. They worked in unison, a ballet of chaos and precision. Emma's hands moved deftly, but her thoughts kept reverting to her son, the ache inside her deepening with every pulse of the monitors. She needed to get back to him, to fix what she had let slip away, as this soldier fought for his life. "Clear," Dr. Thompson commanded, and the room fell into a hush, everyone holding their breaths. Emma's heart raced, not just for the soldier on the table, but for the chance to right her own wrongs at home. What if saving this soldier could show her how to save herself and her relationship with Alex? With a swift jolt, the machine beeped, stabilizing. The soldier was responding. Relief swept over the room. But it was never just about physical life. Emma knew she had her own battles to fight, those of heart and home. As she stepped back, allowing the team to continue, her phone buzzed again. An incoming text from Alex flashed on the screen, and she felt her chest tighten. Before she could read it, the nurse next to her glanced up, concern creasing her brows. "Are you okay, Emma?" "No," she replied softly, her breath hitching. "I'm not even close." The realization hit hard. Saving lives was part of who she was, but it would never fill the void she felt with Alex. Determined, she picked up her phone and typed. "I need you, Alex. Please let us talk." Would he answer this time? Would he hear her? As the words hovered in the air, Emma's heart sank together with a new understanding. Healing was not just for the ER, it was for her family, too. But could she face it? Time stretched before her like an endless road, leading her back to a horizon filled with uncertainty, waiting for her to take the next step. But in the depths of her resolve, a question gnawed at her: what if the hardest fight was still to come? And how could she balance saving lives inside the hospital while trying to save her own outside? The dim lights of the emergency room flickered and hummed with an energy all their own. Emma stood amidst the chaos, her heart racing. Hours had passed since she had rushed in, adrenaline guiding her every move as she stitched and bandaged the Navy SEAL, fighting to keep him alive. The ordeal took everything she had, but inside that storm of urgency, a reflection of clarity emerged. As the soldiers stabilized, thoughts of Alex weighed heavily on her heart. She had felt his pain through every call, his voice echoing her absence. Emma glanced around the busy room, the faces of her colleagues flashing by in their focused dance of care. And yet the truth felt darker every second. While she was saving lives here, another life back home was slipping through her fingers. Finally, with the SEAL in recovery, she was able to breathe again. As she leaned back against the wall and wiped the sweat from her brows, the intercom crackled with urgency that made her pulse race once again. But in her heart, she felt a shift, a transformation that could only come from confronting her own reflections, the wounds she needed to heal. "Emma." Dr. Thompson called, waving her over. "You're amazing, but I think your son needs you now. He has been trying to reach you." Her heart sank. The world of patients seemed to pale compared to hearing Alex's voice. "Do you think he is still up?" she asked, desperation creeping into her tone. "I think after everything, he is counting on you." With a nod, Emma turned, her resolve hardening. She could hear the whispers still calling out to her, Alex's laughter, his frustrated quips. She gathered her belongings quickly, the weight of responsibility shifting from her patients back to her son. At last, driving home, every street sign blurred into the background, thoughts racing. Would Alex even want to see her? Would their fragile bridge survive the weight of her absence? Each second felt like a promise being tested. Upon arriving, she found the house cloaked in silence. She entered slowly, her heart echoing in the spacious living room. It was too quiet. "Alex?" she called, her voice trembling with uncertainty, but there was no answer. She made her way to his room, heart hammering in her chest. Before she could knock, she heard him mumbling on the phone, his voice like a thread pulling her deeper into her own trepidation. Gathering her breath, Emma knocked gently. "Come in," he replied, a hint of surprise cutting through his weariness. As she opened the door, a mixture of vulnerability and courage filled the space between them. Alex looked up, his expression softening. "You're home." Emma sat at the edge of his bed, swallowing the truth that had been so elusive. "I am, and I want to talk." Tension lingered, shadows dancing across the walls as they poured out their truths, her regrets, his loneliness. Layer after layer of vulnerability peeled away like paint off a weathered house. Each word brought them a step closer to understanding, closer to mending what had felt irreparably broken. "I'm sorry for everything," she said, desperation filling her voice. "I thought I was doing the right thing by trying to save everyone but myself. I forgot what it meant to just be your mom. The truth is, you and we both need saving." His eyes widened, and in that moment, something shifted. "It's not too late, is it?" he asked quietly, the vulnerability mirrored in his gaze. "No," she breathed, feeling the weight lift off her shoulders. "We can rebuild this together." With that, silence wrapped around them, fragile but hopeful. It was clear they had a long road ahead, filled with heartaches and healing, laughter and tears. But it was an adventure they would navigate together from here on out. A promise that echoed louder than any emergency call, louder than any siren song of duty. "Let us start with our night," she suggested, her heart racing with the hope of new beginnings. Just you and me. No distractions. Every week, I promise. Alex nodded, a tentative smile creeping across his face. I'd like that. Together, they set their intentions, weaving plans for their new normal, a life filled with connection and laughter again. As Emma tucked her son into bed that night, she realized true heroism wasn't just in the chaos of the ER, it resides in the quiet moments, the connections forged with honesty, trust, and unconditional love. For both of them, it was only the beginning, the world outside faded, lights dimming into the distance. They found home in each other's hearts again, a place where healing could happen in the most unexpected ways, and as Emma closed the door to Alex's room, a smile crept onto her face, a heart echoing with promise. "Good night, Alex," she whispered, securing her heart to the hope of tomorrow. "Now, as this chapter closes, it's time for you to keep the momentum going. You need to subscribe now to catch all of our empowering stories and transformations. Leave a like now to feed our algorithm and help us grow. Comment below with your feelings about this heartwarming conclusion, your reactions mean the world. And don't wait not even one more second to share this message with 5 friends who need a little inspiration in their lives. Together, let us build a community of support and hope.